The topic in this video is probably one of the most important things we're going to do all year long. The rules that we're going to learn related to these graphs are going to be used over and over and over again through our year together in Algebra 2. Just because we learn these in the context of absolute value graphs doesn't mean that's the only place we'll see them. These rules that we kind of explored in the last video and that we'll learn in more detail now can be used on all the new graphs we're going to learn over the course of the year. So we'll come back to this concept 5 or 6 times with different types of graphs, and it's something you're going to get really good at and something that is going to be really helpful as you go on in your math careers. So the first thing I want to do is call your attention back to this parent function graph that we made a few videos back. There are 2 things I want to point out with this graph. First of all, the vertex of this absolute value graph. The vertex is the place where it changes direction. So it's going down and then it switched and started going up. Or another way of thinking about it, it's the pointy part of your graph, the part of the V that's pointy, the corner there. That's my vertex. The vertex of your parent function is at 0, 0. So the vertex where it starts out is right there at 0, 0. It may get moved, as we'll see later on, but that's initially where it is. The second keynote I want you guys to write is once you find the vertex, there's my vertex right here. If I go up 1, over 1, kind of like you do with the slope, there's a point on my graph right there. And if I go up 1, left 1, so I do it in reverse, I get a point on my graph right there as well. If you think about it, to make a V for your absolute value, you really only need the vertex and 2 other dots, because then we can just draw the V and we're done with it. So if you go up 1, over 1, from the vertex, you'll get a point on either side. So it gets you a point left and right. So once I know where the vertex is, if you say, hey, my vertex is right here, then I know, okay, I can go up 1 over 1, get a point, up 1 over 1, get a point, and then I can make my V and be done with it. So I want to go ahead and show you the 4 rules that we kind of touched on in our last video here. And over on the side here, I put down that h is greater than 0 and k is greater than 0. In other words, h and k are both positive numbers. Because if I did something like, okay, I want to do x plus -2, where I put a negative there, that's really just minus. So if you keep them positive, it's like it looks. This means we're adding a number, this means we're subtracting a number, and so on. If you have x plus h, so you're adding a number on the inside, maybe an x plus 5, for example, this is going to move your graph left. So if there's a plus h, our graph is getting moved left h, however much h is. If you see a minus h on the inside, you're subtracting a number on the inside, that moves you right by however much h is. So if this is x minus 54, my graph would move right 54. These 2 right here, kids will get mixed up because you're adding a number, you'd think it'd move it to the right, you're subtracting, you'd think you'd move it to the left, but it's kind of the opposite of what you would think. If you add a number, it moves it left, if you subtract, it moves it right. So it does the opposite of what you'd think on the inside. Keep that straight because that's something that kids do get mixed up, understandably so. If you have a plus on the outside, so you're adding like a plus 4 on the outside here, that's going to move your graph up by however much that is, so up k, and a subtracting on the outside moves the graph down. So those 2 are kind of what you would expect, and adding a number moves your graph up, subtracting moves it down. This little area, this box right here, is absolutely huge. We will come back to this over and over again over the course of the year, so definitely make sure that you can keep these rules straight. That's something to memorize. Alright, so my first graph right here, again, we could make tables for this and we could do that whole process and it would work out, but it's so much easier if you just know your translation rules. So I want to graph y equals absolute value of x, and there's a plus 3 on the inside. Remember the key features I had you write down in the last slide. The vertex was at 0, 0. It starts out there. But our graph has a plus 3 on the inside. That moves you left 3. So my vertex was right here at 0, 0, but it's getting moved left 3. All the points in the graph get shifted. So my new vertex is right there. you had to move it left 3. And the other key rule, if I go up 1 over 1, I'm going to land on my graph. So if I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, I have 2 more dots on my graph right there, and that's all I need to make my V. That graph is done. It's pretty quick and easy once you get the rules down. On this second graph right here, my vertex used to be at 0, 0, that's where it always starts, but this minus 2 on the outside moves my graph down 2 units. So my vertex was here, now it's here because it got moved down 2. Well, I'm going to do my up 1 over 1 trick again. If I go up 1 over 1, I get a point, I get a point. There's my V, and I'm done. 2 more examples here. On this one, there's 2 things going on. The minus 1 on the inside, look back at your notes if you need to get the rules down, moves you right 1. So our graph is going to go right 1, and plus 4 on the outside moves us up 4. So I'm going to go right 1, up 4. That's where my vertex goes. It was here, right 1, up 4. It lands right there, and I just do my up 1 over 1 trick, and I have my new graph. These graphs look really tough. They look kind of complicated, and it's a lot to keep track of right away, but you will get very, very good at these. It's super handy. It's quick to do. Pause the video and try this last one out. See if you can do it for yourself. But I'm going to show you real fast right here. This graph is moving left 2 and down 1. So I go left 2, down 1. I put my vertex. I do my up 1 over 1 trick, and that graph is done. So not too bad. We will definitely be practicing this extensively in class because it is an important skill to have.